Go
Jackson.
Go Pajama Ya.
He loves that song.
That's one of my favorite songs.
Well, it's time again. Here we are. You ready?
I'm ready. Welcome.
Well, let me do that. Right?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, signore e signori, come vi piace la pasta? Al
Al
dente.
dente.
Let's go. What do you got for us this week, Jackson? What's in store?
What's in store? We have a special little treat.
Okay.
Little snack.
Una dolce.
Madeline Morgan.
Let's bring her on.
What's that? Bring Madeline Morgan on.
There she
Madeline
is.
Morgan. No. There she is. Madeline has been with First Colony. She's been here. Madeline. Some of us sometimes call her Maddie, but we are going to try to dial it in and
only
keep
on
it
accident.
Professional. Madeline. How long have you been at First Colony now?
I've been here for, I'd have to check LinkedIn, but almost 5 years. 5 years will be next.
Wow.
Yes.
Which is pretty crazy.
Almost 5 years. And in that time, she's gone from doing lots of things on kind of a entry level to becoming a high-end loan officer. And
like a boutique loan officer, you would say?
Boutique?
Yeah, high-end. That feels like...
I mean, what I mean is she's high level. She understands. She's not a novice. She's an experienced loan officer who can confidently sit in front of a client and teach them how to weigh their options and what to do. And she's high speed, Brandon. She is high speed, and that's why we have her on this today.
High level,
we want
to
learn about this high speed,
high tech, high touch, all those things. Is that accurate, Madeline? We lost her.
I think she's frozen.
I mean, we thought we brought her on, and she's gone. Well, while the operations team works on bringing Madeline back on, Jackson's going to tell us a story.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. Well, while she gets back on, I'll let you know.
We like to keep the suspense high here around.
She's got a unique pedigree. She comes from a family of title.
Like rich heritage from the English countryside, or?
Yeah, I mean, if you were to take a rich heritage countryside and blend it with a title insurance company and put it together, that's exactly what she has. Her dad
Morgan, huh?
Runs a title company, and so does her mom, which is pretty unique.
They run the same title company or two different ones?
Two different ones.
Okay.
Different ones.
They're competitors in their own home.
Well, one focuses more on residential and the other on commercial.
Got it.
And I think that she grew up in a house where that was a constant conversation, and she had no other choice but to get into real estate in some fashion.
So our operations team has managed to get Madeline back online, and here she is back here ready to join us. Madeline,
as much as I liked the mannequin frozen version of you, I'm glad you're back.
Me too. Yeah, out of the blue, plugged in, everything, just let's hope that doesn't happen again.
Technology always works really well until you really need it to, and then something weird happens.
Yeah, and being young doesn't make that any different for me. It's still just as hard to figure out.
Right. I feel like the perfect age. I mean, Jackson, you've got a 11, 12-year-old at home, right?
9.
Is Luke only 9?
Yeah.
He feels so mature for his age. You must get that from you.
Well, it's because I talk to him like he's a grown man, you know?
And he's a gold crown. Like that adds a few years of maturity.
Correct. Right? He's part of the Harriman City Gold Crowns Pee Wee 8-9 baseball team.
In the championship, by the way, Madeline, what do you think about that?
Oh, I've been tracking.
Oh no. Are we frozen again?
I'm not frozen. Are you? We might have to run this back.
Yeah.
We need stable internet.
Yeah.
Well, Jackson, This might be the shortest podcast episode we've done to date.
Well, one of my questions I had for Madeline is,
you can ask her a little picture there.
I'm going to ask her.
I can answer for you.
It looks like she's about to answer.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask her because I feel like she does her loan officering all over the place. She's constantly working in different spaces, whether it's in a coffee shop or at a in a lounge somewhere or in an office somewhere. And I wanted to ask her where she goes and where she gets the most business done, where she's the most efficient. And now I want to know exactly where she's at with this because of the connection.
Yeah, we want to know all of those things, Madeline. Did you hear any of that?
I heard a little bit about where do I go to get the most business done.
Where do you work?
So I work mostly not in the office. I love to work at a coffee shop. I meet new people every single day. And I've made a lot of connections, even with realtors that I run into. But most of it, I kind of have some ADHD. And it's weird that I work better in a busy setting with things going on around me than I do in a quiet space.
Yeah.
And so if I can be in a busy environment, have my headphones in, be playing separate music, then I can like lock in like no other, especially when they give me like cups and cups of caffeine. Like that is my spot for sure.
So you found the perfect balance between a noisy environment with your own jams on your headphones, caffeine. You're al dente. You're in the zone at that point.
Yeah, I'm in the zone.
That's
it's like
al dente.
The peer pressure of everybody else working too is like, I got to be dialed also. So
right. You're competing with the person in the booth next to you. Right. Yeah. That's probably watching reruns of The Simpsons, but looks like they're working. Or Family Guy or something.
That's not for me to know. It's just a game in my own head.
I love that. Well, Madeline, I'm curious, like so you've been a part of the First Colony family for 5 years, right? Which feels like, I don't know you that well. I'm just getting to know you. That feels like you're not quite even old enough to have been part of the family for 5 years already. How did you end up in the mortgage industry?
Yeah, it was pretty random. I was actually a senior in high school at the time, and our old CEO here at First Colony used to be my parents' accountant back in the day. They owned a title company. And I just reached out and I was like, hey, I'm looking for some good jobs to get into high school, maybe something to get me through school. Can I go to lunch with you and tell me what it's like to be a mortgage lender? So graciously, he came out to lunch, and during that lunch, he offered me a job as a loan processor. He said, here's what we can do to get your foot in the door. You know, you're still in high school. So I was going to school 8 to 12 and then First Colony 12 to 5. And so I became a loan processor. I started doing all that back end stuff. I was decently good at it. Maybe don't ask anybody else at First Colony, but I got it done. But I could tell the whole time I was like, this is a lot of documentation. This really isn't my strong suit. And so I processed for a while just because of the convenience of the schedule.
Right.
I was super young. I was still graduating high school, getting into my freshman year of college, balancing that schedule full time. And then eventually I made the shift over to loan officer about 2-ish years ago now.
That's crazy.
And Maddie, while you were offline, I may have said something wrong. Do your parents own the title company together, or did they both? I felt like they ran separate title companies, but one did commercial, one did residential. What was that?
Yeah, so growing up, they owned one residential company. They opened it in 2007. My mom's a real estate attorney, and then my dad does do residential. And so that sold about 10 years ago to Old Republic. And then since they've made a change now to Fidelity. So my mom is a commercial underwriter for Fidelity. She does national commercial transactions for them. And then my dad manages Utah County, I believe, residential.
Wow. Okay. So I got it a little bit wrong, but I think everybody could see why I may have said what I said.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But the bottom line is you had no other choice but to be involved with real estate somehow. You grew up in a house where this was the talk.
It was the talk. Similar to Jackson, we both grew up in a title conversations around the dinner table.
That's
and
right.
That was enough to convince me that title was not for me. And so I started looking for different options right out the gate.
100%. Me too. It's awesome.
When you joined the team as a processor, Madeline, did you always know deep down inside that you wanted to be a loan officer?
No, I had no clue. I wanted to be a medical doctor at the time.
Okay.
My
While you
mom,
were processing loans, you still had aspirations to be a medical doctor.
until I really got into college, and then I realized how long I didn't want to go to college for. I knew being a loan officer and working in sales was a good opportunity where instead of becoming a doctor, I could make a similar amount of money, or I could just have uncapped potential by becoming a loan officer. And it was never about the processing. It was always about someday working up to closing my own deals.
Got it. Well, I'm going to go a little bit off the rails then. It feels like it's time for that.
Do it.
Jackson, I was waiting for you to do it.
No, do it. Do it.
Are you happy as a loan officer, Madeline?
I am happy as a loan officer. My favorite thing about it is optionality.
Okay.
Pretty great gig where I can take my schedule, I can set it up however I want. I can work whatever hours I want. For me, I love to work. And so it's not about, is this an easy job? Do I not have to work a lot? It's about when, and I can decide what hours when I work. That's my favorite thing about it, hands down. It's like if I want to work 12 a.m. to something else, I can. If I want to start work at 10:30 because I want to go to a workout in the morning, I can. That's seriously my favorite thing about it, as well as being able to do it remotely. So in that world, it's my dream job.
Follow-up question to that, Madeline, because I admire that. I admire the desire to create your own space and your own time and your schedule, right? My follow-up to that would be, what do you do to communicate to the partners that you have as a loan officer, like maybe real estate agents or builder partners or even borrowers, to set like healthy boundaries on not having to feel like you need to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Like, how do you manage that aspect of it? Because something that I've observed with a lot of loan officers out there is they really feel like they have to always be available in this business.
One thing I like to do is I just like to pre-communicate. So if they ask me a big question, hey, get me some numbers on this, I say, great, I'll be working tomorrow. I'll send you something over then. And so
Nice.
sometimes, depending on the time of day, if it's unreasonable, I just don't respond. If it's past 7:30, if I have something going on, a lot of my referral partners luckily understand that, real life happens and other people have schedules and things going on outside of work, which I'm super grateful for. But I
Right.
find that just that little 5-second text of like, hey, I see this, I got it, I'll get to you, is kind of the thing that just smooths over everything else.
Jackson, this is incredible. This is really incredible. Like, Madeline, 2 years in as a loan officer, right?
Mhm.
Most loan officers, I mean, if you're going to be a really good loan officer, maybe you'll find success in the first 6 months, but most loan officers don't find success in the first 2 years even, right? And I'm observing and listening to this, like these words of wisdom. I don't think the audience realizes like the wisdom in what Madeline is sharing right here. Like, to me, it feels like early on in your development as a loan officer, you identified and understood the concept that you don't have to be everything for everybody, right?
100%.
And it sounds also to me like you've also come to terms with the fact that not every client is your client or needs to be, right?
Oh, yeah, I welcome that idea. I'll work with a huge variety of people, but at the end of the day, if I'm not that agent's fit and we're working on a close basis, a lot of
Yeah.
transactions, and it's just not seeming to go, I'll be the first to say, hey, I might not be your cup of tea, and that's okay.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want Jackson to chime in on this, because Jackson can come at it from like a manager perspective with decades of experience, right, Jackson?
Decade plus, not
Yeah.
decades. So come on.
No, you're rolling into the second decade. This is decades now.
Just own it. It's okay.
Yeah. Just be proud of it, Jackson. Come on. So how did you, Madeline, how did you arrive at that point? Like, did it come naturally to you? And then Jackson, like, how would you communicate or encourage other loan officers to understand the value of what Madeline's already discovered in her first 2 years? So those are my two similar but separate questions for each one of you.
Got it. I would say that ideology kind of just stems to my like individual thinking as like a person, and then it just translates over to mortgage. And so for me, I like to, if things aren't flowing, if you don't feel peace about something, it's really big for me. It's either working or it's not. And so it
Wow.
kind of just seemed natural to bring that into mortgage.
I agree with you, but it doesn't happen as often as it should. Jackson, what do you think on that?
And it's a real, I struggle with it even still right now.
Thanks for being
Like,
honest.
even during this podcast, I've had multiple missed calls and several texts
can
from
tell.
people. And part of my calling card as a successful loan officer, and what I deem successful, is being quick and like mentally compartmentalizing to stay here instead of like go there is tough for me even in this moment right now. And I think the balance of the al dente mode
There's that word
mentally
again,
of
balance.
being able to not let your loan officer duties consume every single part of your life, and being able to be 100% there for your family or for yourself in other moments is an art. I love that. I got a text the other night. It was at 11 something. It was after 11, and my wife goes, "Who's texting you?" And I said,
Right.
"Oh, it's this client. I don't know."
Not a
And my wife
girlfriend.
she goes, "Oh, she probably just texted you right now because it was on her mind, and you don't need to really get back to her right now. She wanted to get the message out." I was like, "Yeah, for sure." And Maddie,
Wait,
you
your
said,
wife said that?
"Yeah,
Okay.
yeah." She put that together, and I said, "Yeah, probably." And Madeline, you said, if they message me or ask me for something at a time that's unreasonable, like I love to use that word unreasonable, because you could have used the word inconvenient, or could have been it's after business hours, but you have built certain times of your day and your life as unreasonable moments. And
Mhm.
that's such a strong word.
Yeah.
It's unreasonable in your mind that they text you based on your own personal business plan and your own kind of your own just business creed, personal creed of when you work and what is reasonable and what is not. Like, I love that boundary that you put there.
Yeah, this is exciting
I mean,
right
don't
here.
get me wrong. I love to work some late nights. Late nights are kind of my most productive time. I feel the most awake. I'm a huge night owl. And so there's sometimes where I'll forget to schedule send and I'll respond to somebody pretty late. And I'm like, shoot, that kind of messes up this flow I have going on. Usually I like to schedule them to send at like 5:30. So people think I'm really, really on it.
Yeah.
5:30, 6 a.m. They're like, this girl has like a morning routine. She's up. It's like, no, it's just 12:30 a.m. from the night before.
Nice.
But I
Nice.
think that there's things we can do to help frame those expectations, right? So whether it's that little text, whether it's the schedule send text on the iPhone, which you taught me about
Pro tip.
actually.
Pro tip.
I have to update my phone to do that. I'm a little bit sad.
Uh,
Oh
But
boy.
I'm really like, I feel like that will be a great thing to take a hold of. So I think it mostly comes from the precedent that you set, and you can still be that quick loan officer, the adaptive, the, just present. But at 9 p.m., it's like people aren't really going to be that mad unless the people you are might be. I don't know.
We've in previous episodes, Madeline, we have talked about our style
Uh-huh.
as a loan officer. Like, everybody has their own individual style. What would you call your style?
Ooh. Is it like a 2-word answer? Like I need to come up
No,
with like a
no.
no,
tagline
let's
or
really like unpack this, Madeline.
Yeah,
Like,
we
this
want
is
an al
you.
dente answer. We want it
Yeah.
perfect. 2 words might not be enough, That might still be a crispy noodle.
Yeah, we might have to ask more questions if it's only 2-word answers.
for sure. I am pretty big on customizing my experience every time to what the borrower wants. So there are some borrowers that want to meet with you in person. There's some that never want to see your face. They just want you to email them the items you need and get that approval. And so I would say that my loan process with the client, it always starts with a lot of communication, but then I tailor it as I go through with what they're really wanting. So there's some people that I'm talking to a lot more than others. There's ones that I'm checking in just because I know they're anxious. There's other people that I kind of just leave it more like, hey, here's your weekly or bi-weekly update, depending on the timing. And so I would say it's a mix of just customization to the borrower. And also, I try and implement a lot of technology. So I have my own CRM system. I try and celebrate the little things a little bit more than most people would. I do customized under contract emails. I send out emails with all the little helpful tips of please don't quit your job. And here's how to opt out of pre-screened credit offers so you don't get a million spam calls. And I try and just customize each of those things to make it feel unique. And so there's a lot of mundane, there's a lot of needs lists, but I think that whatever we can do to create an experience, not just at the closing table, but throughout the entire process is what makes you as a loan officer memorable.
This is a great moment because Jackson just took a note.
Mm-hmm.
Did you now?
That's
Okay.
how you know that you're hitting a chord with him,
Yep.
Madeline. Changing
Ding.
lives, if you
Oh
will.
yeah.
Oh, please.
Was
Oh,
that in the
beautiful.
sacred book?
That's going to go in the sacred book.
Is
Yeah.
it?
I'm
We
not
have another
writing in the
sacred book
sacred
moment?
book right now, Madeline. I have a sacred book.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
this is new to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the
I'll pull
name
it
of
out
this
and show
book?
it.
We can't call it the sacred book. That sounds weird.
It is. It does, but I'll show it to you. It doesn't have a name.
You would have written it in there if you had access to it, though.
Yeah.
There it is,
This
Madeline.
is
Yo Playa.
Yo Playa.
Dang, that is a book.
The Yo
There is a
Playa.
lot of
That's
goodies
got
in here.
decades of knowledge and wisdom and tips and tricks in it. Decades, literally. Madeline, everything you're saying, like, oh, that just makes my heart happy. Because that's exactly how I feel about this too. I want to ask I want to connect some dots. We got to connect some dots, and I don't want to run out of time. Jackson, you can help me. Madeline, chime in here. Like, Madeline's expressed kind of her philosophy on being a loan officer, her style, her technique, right? But we also need to kind of connect the dots here as to this isn't like just your average LO, right, Jackson? Like, Madeline's a highly successful, you said high level, but like highly successful loan officer, right? Like, how successful are you, Madeline, if you don't mind sharing with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Jackson might do a better job. I
Okay.
feel like I'm busy. I answer a lot of emails. But I try and not compete with numbers. I think my competition is with myself, and that's what I try and do because I think that there's a lot of whenever you're starting to focus on external competition, it becomes this goalpost that you'll never achieve because it's this person and then beating that person and reaching that level, and that's never something I've consciously wanted to avoid in my career. Is
That is
just
the most
looking at it like,
strategic response.
do I feel like I am successful? Do I feel happy with the discipline and the work that I put in today? And that's where my definition of success comes from. So hopefully if I'm doing the right things, then the sales success follows. But for me, like it's pretty comical, but like even my closing cost, my closing in the next 7 days templates, I don't open them up. So I see the pipeline, I see how many things I have going on, but besides number tracking and looking at, standings between everybody at the company, I've never even clicked on that page.
I have a lot to say about that, but Jackson, I'm curious where you're at.
Well, she used the word discipline as she was talking about if she feels successful. And I think that's like, if you can figure out how to be disciplined as a loan officer, and discipline meaning sticking to the systems that you build. When you talked about your style, you talked about customization, you talked about technology, you talked about, you said sounds like you have different emails built to go out at different times and trying to give some tips along the way. You've been disciplined with building a system instead of just going out and trying to get a loan and trying to get it closed.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know your numbers this year, and I love.
You can share them. I don't care.
No, what I love is you didn't define success by how many closings or how many dollars you funded.
Right.
That is awesome and epic. and using the word discipline as part of your as part of your explanation. Words matter, and you've thought about this a lot. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, that originally came from Craig Manning, and I was like, it's time to stop focusing on the external. It's like you have that inner track record, whether you want to admit it or not, at 5 p.m. How did I do at my job today? How's that to-do list going inside my head? And it's okay if there's items left on it, but at the end of the day, we all feel better when we know we put in effort. So the days that I know I've reached out to the people I need to, contacted, sent the emails, sent the estimates, especially the ones that I was dreading to send. Something I'm trying to implement is feared things first, or things I don't want to do first, because that can be something that I personally fall into, because I'm really good at putting off the
Eat the
less
frog.
exciting thing, the pulling, 5 different estimates and 5 different loan programs for one buyer. Like, I now do that first, or I try to. And then everything else after that is super achievable.
Yep.
This is incredible. This is the best.
Madeline, you said eat the frog. Like she just said that whole concept by Tracy. I can't remember his first name.
I haven't heard of that one.
In a totally different manner, she did. That was amazing.
Yeah, you got to eat the frog first. It's actually like it's a highly touted concept that most people have a hard time doing, and here you are doing it, Madeline. So here's what I want to know, Jackson. Can I go with this one?
Yeah, sorry.
All right, no, it's all right. It's all right. It sounds to me like you're doing everything perfect. What do you struggle with outside of like what you just mentioned with doing the hard things first? Like, what are some other challenges that you've either faced recently or you are currently facing as a loan officer in your business?
100%. I feel like there's a lot that I'm still learning about all the different loan programs. I'm learning so much, especially from our team, about, those little ways to edit mortgage insurance, or how to really fine tune a loan for the borrower. So I'm getting better at being more creative, finding those better options. Another thing is sometimes I'm just completely overrun. I don't, it's a one team, right? One team girl, or one girl team. And sometimes that can be a lot. There's a lot of weeks where it feels manageable, but there's also a lot of days where it's like, this is going to take me a lot of time to get through, and I might not be sticking to my balance and perfect schedule, but that's okay. That's kind of just the cost of success sometimes, is getting in and doing that. I would say the third thing, which I feel like people would want to hear the most, is mostly when it comes to marketing. Marketing can be hard for me, because when I have problems at the computer, the last thing I want to do is leave the computer and go take someone out to lunch. Whenever I have something stressing me out, I'm like, let me fix it. I need to get it done off the plate as soon as possible. So when volume goes up and problems go up, it's a lot harder for me to get out of my desk and back into the marketing, which is originally like what I love and what I started out doing a lot, which really propelled my business forward, was meeting with someone almost every day of the week, which I am really, really terrible at right now.
We've got to have Madeline back on, Jackson, because there's so much more to unpack, I think.
Oh, yeah. You're a talent, Madeline.
Thank you.
I know. The question I wanted to ask was right off the bat, like, and I love how you are always at different places. I've noticed, like, I don't know where you are right now. I was hoping you'd be doing this in the middle of that coffee shop you're talking about.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Well, I tried to get the lighting. Brandon asked me to have lighting and cameras fixed,
I know,
and I failed him today. The light died. The laptop
Brandon,
shut off.
You made this less authentic, Brandon. This authentic podcast we want to have.
Yeah. My bad. I'm learning to. Jackson, take us home, because you there's a question you like to close things out with when we have guests on. So I'm going to throw the ball over to you and let you take us home with Madeline.
All right, Madeline. Okay, we've mentioned the coffee shop. You're going to go to this favorite coffee shop where you meet people and you want to be there with people you're proud of.
Mm-hmm.
Give us 5 people in the industry, in First Colony, that you work with in your real estate world, they can't be your parents or your family, that you're going to take to that coffee shop that you're proud of, that you're going to introduce to people, and they might tell a story or something like that.
100%. Well, first of all, I'm going to invite you too. I don't know what
Yes,
my
Condo
limit of
P.
people I can have at the coffee shop is, but I'll start with you too. So these are some of the 2 most dynamic people I know at First Colony, and they probably didn't expect me to come on here, start talking about them.
No.
But Brandon is new to First Colony, and I'm
Yeah.
so impressed by the way that he presents complex data and information and builds connections. It's been incredible to watch. And Jackson has been to my sales meetings with me for quite a few years now, and his ability to connect with people is absolutely uncanny. Like the energy that you bring to meetings is infectious. And I've always tried to resonate that and be that people person, because I actually am an introvert sometimes. And so it's something I have to work hard on. And so you are always a shining example of that to me.
Thank you.
The other
Definitely
people,
having you back on.
Yeah.
okay.
More invites
Okay.
coming.
Stop. Please stop.
But one of my mentors is Darlene Carter over at the CW group, and she is incredible. She takes the time, talks with me about my career. She offers a wealth of advice, and she's really just a great friend. She's authentic about being herself while still being out there, being the most badass person in the room, and just completely owns 100% of who she is. I love my VP of sales and my president over at Candlelight Homes. They are incredible. They're all about culture. If you've ever read the book Unreasonable Hospitality, that is everything these guys, everything they resonate and they put out there. It's just creating experiences, creating moments, and going out your way to show people gratitude and appreciation. So between you two, Darlene, those 2 guys over at Candlelight, and I love Corey and Em at First Colony. They have made all the difference in this growth, this chapter. They've been there for me along the way, selling whatever clients I need to, offering advice. And then my favorite person at First Colony might be Kristen Welch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out K-Dub.
I love Kristen. So she's been here since like day 1 for me, when I was like a little baby processor coming in from high school, and she taught me the ropes, and she's still like my favorite person to go in and talk to whenever I'm in the office.
Now, that's pretty impressive. I don't believe Brandon and I are actually in the coffee shop. You just gave us, I think,
would
9
invite
people.
you. I would. I'm telling
We have to wait outside.
Yeah.
No.
But look in through the windows.
I'll save a table outside. You gotta come out if you want.
Yeah, in true Italian
There's
fashion.
a huge table at this coffee shop in my head. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's like the more connections, especially inside the industry, there's so much to learn from the people around you.
Why limit it to 5?
Yeah, come on.
Right. I mean,
I love that.
Take it to the street. That's how the Italians would do it.
That's right.
There we go.
Right? There's no space in their coffee shops anyways for people. They're teeny. That's why everyone sits on the street.
Yeah.
So we'll just get a big crowd out there and we'll just sit on the street, Madeline.
Well, the perfect meal, Italian or not, is shared with friends. So
you know it. You know it.
Man, how many one-liners is she going to give us today, man? This
might as well write that in your book.
Yeah, my book. Madeline, read the book.
Madeline, this has been an incredible conversation. I've learned some things. I'm excited to revisit this and kind of unpack it, like I said, at an even deeper level, and bring you back on and do that. And also do that like outside of the podcast, because you have a lot to give. You're a giver. I can tell about you already that you're a giver, which is a beautiful thing in this industry. So thank you so much for coming on the show, hanging out with Jackson and I. Where can people find you, Madeline, if they want to find you? Are you on social media? What's the best way to get a hold of Madeline Morgan?
Oh, I'm on social media, all right. My Instagram handle is Madeline Mortgage.
Nice.
So it was too good to not do that. So add me on there, send me a DM. I'd love to answer any questions. But yeah, that's probably the best way.
Let's go.
I love it. Thank you, Madeline.
Of course. Anytime.
Grazie
me too.
mille.
Grazie.
Believe it or not, I understand that.
Yeah. One thing, she speaks Spanish.
Okay. A la próxima.
Next time.
See you guys. Thank you.
Okay.
See ya. Bye.